Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. I want to introduce you to a new thing we're going to try here. Every time you hear me go ding, 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 I'm taking a little break and reading to talk to you about what's going on in the story. And where we left, let's try that right now. Ding, ding, ding. Where we left off is we had just basically met Roan, Rey Macio's brother, and there he goes over the dam, washed away with Minas Nuevas, the village that had survived for 300 years through all those booms and busts. And we ended the last section with the idea that there would be no birthday cake today. So what I want you to be thinking about, and after watching that video about the Bayant Dam and how those things do happen, landslides occur, they fill in behind in a reservoir, create dangerous rogue waves that can wipe out entire villages that come cascading over a dam. So that stuff's for real. But now, last we saw is Rey Macio was hiding inside the dam itself. He had managed to escape through that hatch that his father had pointed out needed fixing about a year and a half before that. And he and his friend Tupui, who had just become Shantaya, were lucky to be pulled into that safe place. And that's where we're going to pick up a story. And right after the rogue wave washes over the dam. Here we go. Disturbing thoughts. Rey Macio awoke in darkness. The musty smell of earth was everywhere. Feeling a weight upon his body, he tried to move. After great effort, there was a sucking sound like the one that feet make as they trod through a muddy bog, and one of his arms came free. He realized he had been buried alive. "Ah!" he screamed, terrified. "Remy, are you there?" came a voice from somewhere below. Rey Macio caught his breath. "Tupui, what happened?" "I don't know. You pushed me in the door and I pulled you in after me. After that, I don't know what happened. Are we still in the dam? Or are we dead? Is this the afterworld?" For a moment there was silence between the two boys as they wondered whether or not they were now dead. The controlled tone of Tupui's voice and the mystery of their surroundings had an oddly calming effect on Rey Macio. Taking a deep breath, he reached into his pocket, clutched his obsidian arrowhead, and let everything become clear. He understood what had happened and what they needed to do, what he needed to do. The stairs leading from the top of the dam to the valve control area went down about 40 feet, but they did not go in a straight line. They zigzagged back and forth, just like stairs do in any building of considerable height. But Rey Macio figured that somehow the tidal wave had washed the flimsy entrance structure away without entering the interior access. That is why they didn't drown. Mud from the landslide, however, had entered, carried easily by the force of the wave. The mud must have acted like a thick but powerful river that carried the two boys down the stairs, while at the same time preventing the stairs from being flooded by plugging them up. The zigzag design of the stairway probably kept the mud from overwhelming them, as it lost force and volume at the turn of every flight of steps. Though they were both covered in mud, they hadn't been buried completely. It was impossible to determine how many flights of stairs they had been pushed down, but it didn't matter. There was no way they'd be able to dig their way out. From personal experience, though, Rey Macio knew that he could still go down. If they could make it to the valve control area, they could follow the tunnel to the outside of the support buttress in fresh air. They would then be able to climb back up the face of the dam using emergency escape ladders, if they still existed, and make their way to dry land. As Rey Macio explained all of this to Tupui, he fought to keep more disturbing thoughts from entering his mind. Still, the picture of Rome being swept away by the great wave hovered like a dark, disturbing shadow, eating away at Rey Macio's soul. Ding, ding, ding. And here again, I want you to remember that this is a flashback. So as this flashback's occurring, Rey Macio is actually a man now, standing outside of a jail cell with Felipe. getting ready to kidnap an old man, and Felipe had reached for his obsidian arrowhead, thinking it might look pretty cool on him. And that's when Remesio grabbed that obsidian arrowhead and said that would never be Felipe's. And it made him think back to when it all went wrong. And so now I think he's starting to get the idea of when everything started to go wrong. But what I want you to think about then is, how does Remesio go on to become a thief? And what leads him to that? So ding, 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 back to the story. A new direction. Soon after he had led Tupui to safety away from the dam and back to the Shantaya, Remesio learned that the monstrous wave that had swept his brother away had also destroyed the town of Minas Nuevas and everyone in it, including his parents. He was truly lost. Days of frantic and useless searching for survivors had passed since the disaster, and he had fallen into a state of shock. He spoke to no one and drank water only when held to his lips by someone else. Shantaya, who had quickly decided to find a new place to live, there was bad magic near Minas Nuevas, were beginning to worry that their newest member might not survive during their search for a new home. They knew that the complete devastation of the village of Minas Nuevas had been a tremendous blow to Remesio. His family, like many others, was gone without a trace. The Shantaya had looked for survivors, but found only some mangled bodies and destruction. Still, they understood that life goes on, and the time to move had come. They tried their best with Remesio, yet he wouldn't eat and he wouldn't speak. He had horrible dreams at night. He couldn't forget the image of his brother being swept over the dam. The Shantaya talked to Remesio as if everything was all right, normal even, but he simply stared straight ahead, mumbling and traveling trance-like with the tribe. He did what they did, but he was unaware of his own actions. He was beginning to lose his mind. The Shantaya had a hard time understanding his great sense of loss. Roan had died because of his love for his brother. He had died with the intention of saving Remesio. To them, it was a brave death. In their minds, few things were as wonderful. It was now up to Remesio to honor his brother by living a noble life. Remesio didn't feel noble, though. All he felt was guilt. Because of him, Roan had died. He was the one who had talked Roan into skipping school and climbing the giant strangler fig tree. He was the one who dragged Roan out to the reservoir. He was the one who had to go first. And as always, Roan led him. The last words that he had said to his parents were lies. And once again, Roan had gone along, but it had cost Roan his life. Everyone he loved was dead. Why should he be the only one to live? That night, while the rest of the tribe slept, young Remesio slipped into the forest, unwilling to make the effort to live any more. The next morning, when Tupui notified the Shantaya of Remesio's disappearance, there was a debate among the tribe. Some wanted to go look for him. He was still young, they said. Old Asan, their leader, rejected that idea. He said that Remesio was now on his own, and was now on his most important journey, and they had to take it alone. Asan counseled them to have faith in their newest member. Great things would be in store for him if he survived. Patience was required. And now, 3 days had passed since Remesio had left the tribe. He was weak from not eating, and he had not moved from the mango tree he had been sitting against for the last 10 hours. The vision of Roan plunging over the dam replayed continuously in his mind like an out-of-control movie. He had forgotten where he was, and he didn't care. He closed his eyes and wished himself dead. Psst! Hey, kid! Get me out of here! Came a voice out of the air. Remesio opened his eyes, thinking he might be hallucinating. He wasn't sure of what was real. He closed his eyes again. Kid, I'm up here, up in the tree. Take a look. Too tired to get to his feet, Remesio slid from the tree and lay on his back. He saw a green and gold macaw parrot directly above him. It seemed to be talking to him. Remesio was sure he was going nuts. He had seen talking parrots before, but they could only repeat words and phrases that they had heard. This parrot was giving him instructions in Spanish. Come on, get up. Up you go, that's right. Get up, said the parrot. Remesio managed to make it to his feet and positioned himself for a better look. He could see that the macaw was trapped in a poacher's net. "Well, what are you waiting for? I want out." Remesio feebly climbed the tree and set about releasing the parrot from the confines of the net. "Thanks, kid, I owe you one," was all it said, and then it flew off. Remesio scratched his head, not exactly sure about what had just happened. He noticed a ripe mango hanging from a nearby branch and plucked it. He realized he felt like eating, and in no time at all had devoured the mango down to its pit. He wanted another one immediately. The parrot returned and landed at his feet. "Hey, that was a close one, huh? I thought we were going to lose you. It's a good thing I spoke up when I did, isn't it?" Remesio could not believe this parrot was striking up a conversation. "Wait a minute," he said. "I'm the one who got you out of trouble." "Yeah, whatever you say, kid," replied the parrot sarcastically. "Well, it's true," insisted Remesio. "Okay, look, kid, you did me a favor, but to tell you the truth, it wouldn't have mattered to me if you hadn't gotten me out. I was looking for something different to do anyway." "You mean you wanted to get caught by poachers?" "Yeah, why not? They'd just sell me to someone else, and for a while I'd have a new home. After 500 years, it's hard to get worked up over much of anything." "You expect me to believe you're 500 years old?" questioned Remesio. 504 to be exact, but that's in human years." The parrot flew up to a hanging branch in the mango tree and took a seat about eye level with Remesio. "That's impossible," said Remesio matter-of-factly. He was beginning to think he had really lost his mind. "Ever hear of Juan Ponce de Leon?" asked the parrot. "Sure. He's the guy who discovered Florida and searched for the Fountain of Youth." Remesio had always liked that adventure story. "Yeah, he found the Fountain of Youth. He just didn't know it. I belonged to him back in those days. Wherever he went, I went. Those were interesting times. Juan was a good guy, great sense of humor. Except he had gold on the brain. He couldn't stop thinking about it. He was greedy, pure and simple. That's why he explored so much territory, just looking for gold. That guy could walk forever if he thought gold was involved. Even the Fountain of Youth was supposed to have a big stash of gold around it. That's why I went looking for it. I'm telling you, he had a major case of gold fever. It turned him into something else. It made him mean. Anyway, we were out hiking in southern Florida, just the two of us, when we came across this little spring. We thought nothing of it since there was no gold to be seen, but we were both hot and thirsty. We jumped in, drank from it, and cooled off. Now here I am talking to you. What do you think about that?" Not much," said Remesio, unimpressed. "He died, killed by Indians, if I remember correctly. It was a Fountain of Youth, kiddo. It stops you from aging, but it doesn't make you immune to poison arrows. Poor Juan. He didn't know he had found it. I didn't know he had found it. It took me about 100 years to put it all together. After every person and animal that I knew had passed away with nothing happening to me, I just reasoned it out. Juan would have loved the irony. He was that kind of guy. You know what his last words were? 'On the whole, I'd rather be in Seville.' That guy was a riot." Remesio crossed his arms, not quite understanding this parrot, and not quite knowing what to think. "So what happened to the Fountain of Youth?" "Well, kid, it's been a while since I've been back in Florida, but last I heard it was being used as a water hazard on the 10th hole of some country club golf course. But that might simply be a rumor. I don't think I could ever find it again, and it's probably dried up by now." Remesio had heard just about enough. "My name isn't Kid, it's Remesio, but everyone calls me Remy." "How did you learn to speak Spanish?" "Longevity, Remy. You can learn anything if you live long enough. I know a lot of languages. I've been practically everywhere." The parrot switched over to English. "My name is Raja, by the way." Remesio's eyes grew wide with surprise. He introduced himself in Shantayan. "Oh, you speak Shantayan too," said Raja, impressed. "Now there's a nice group of people." Remesio had almost been smiling. "I think they're gone," he said softly, "along with all of my family." He could not hold back his tears. He sobbed heavily. I don't know what to do. I feel so alone, so guilty." Raja waited until Remesio could no longer cry. When the young boy finally wiped his eyes, the parrot flew to his arm. "I know what happened, Remy. The whole rainforest is talking about it. I flew over Minas Nuevas to see for myself, and it's very sad, and I'm very sorry for you. Losing friends and family's never easy, for animals or people. I know that's not much help to you now, but if it's any consolation, you're not alone anymore. I'll stay with you. And remember, you didn't cause that flood. Where will I go? Asked Remesio, feeling guilty nonetheless. Back to the Santaya? Suggested Raja. No, I can't go back there. Maybe someday, but not now. Raja flew back up to the mango tree and broke a small branch off with his beak. Another mango fell to the ground, and Remesio immediately ate it. Raja returned with the branch and instructed Remesio to throw it up in the air. When it landed, it followed the imaginary line extending from its broken end. North, said Raja. We'll go north. And that's where this section stops. And so think about this now. Remesio's on his own with a talking parrot who apparently had found, I should have said ding, ding, ding. He's on his own with a talking parrot who apparently had discovered the fountain of youth with Juan Ponce de Leon. So when we pick up on the next section, we'll see where this story takes us. Hope you're enjoying it.